Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Coffin Talk, interviews with the living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. And this week we have our guest Sam Fischer on the show. And if you're watching, you will see that we're wearing matching shirts right now, and it says Cowboys Not Eggheads. And that is because it's the name of his podcast, of which I was a proud guest. And he sent me this shirt, and it's not only super cool and it starts weird conversations and looks, but it is one of the most comfortable shirts I own. So we're going to actually interview Sam. I'm not just going to advertise his shirt and his podcast, but we are going to ask him about his podcast. But here's a brief bio that he sent in. He comes from a cowboy raised and egghead educated background, hence the name Cowboys Not Eggheads. And he's saddled and ridden a horse. He's been on multiple cattle drives. He's fed cattle in 40 below temperatures, worked cattle in a corral, put up hay in 100-degree temperatures, fixed fences, you name it. He also attended high school at a prestigious private school and got a college degree before spending 31 years as a national political operative, owning his own business and working 13 years as a police officer. We're going to get into all that and more, but first let's just say hello. Hi, Sam.
Hello, and thanks for having me. I really look forward to this. I am a big fan of the show. I listen to it weekly, and you have a lot of smart people on here. So I just hope I can hold up my end of the deal here. And I'll tell your listeners that this was not planned, the matching shirts here, but it does display incredible principle by you, sir. One of the cowboy codes is ride for the brand. So thanks for riding for the brand.
That's awesome. And we do screen guests, and I do not just ask any old Tom, Dick, or Harry onto the show. So trust me, I enjoyed your perspective. I do not listen to religiously to your podcast, but that's because I have little toddlers. It is not an affront to your podcast. But I've listened to enough to know that you also articulate ideas that are not always coming across in like the mainstream media zone and stuff. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I think that yeah, what you're doing is good, but also who you are is exactly why I always tell people don't judge any book by any cover. Um, Although I will say, just because it was funny, I had a professor once in college who actually kind of changed my attitude. He said, "Always judge a book by the cover." Are you kidding me? The person picked it out, so you should. And I was like, "Okay, I can see your point." But anyway, we always ask our guests, as you know, how old are you? Where were you born, and where did you grow up, really? And what generation, if any, do you consider yourself a member of?
Uh, so I'm 56 years old. Next July, on July 11th of this year, 2025, I will be 57. So I am a proud member of Generation X, a proud member. I was born and raised in Valentine, Nebraska. It's a small town in north central Nebraska on the South Dakota border. It's a very large county geographically. I always misquote it, but I went back and looked at there's 6,000 square miles in Cherry County and 5,000 people. So I was raised in the Nebraska Sandhills, which is ideal for raising cattle, and there are 250,000 mama cows in Cherry County. So it's one of the largest counties for cattle production in the country.
Wow. So much to unpack with the Nebraska and cattle rearing and all that, but and cattle raising. What I would like to ask you first, though, just because you actually do have like a real deeper understanding of politics and America and how things play out. How do you feel about the fact that like Gen X never really had a president? Like it seems that we're gonna like
Hmm,
skip your generation. This was presented to me, and by the way, I'm at the like very
that's
end, so
interesting.
yeah. All my heroes are Gen Xers, like all my favorite bands, all my so. Have you ever thought about that, or
I haven't. It's a great question, Mike. And you're absolutely right.
because
You're
Obama was close, but
right.
he definitely claims Boomer. I mean, he said it himself. So
Yeah, yeah. He's a boomer. Wow. Maybe we still have a chance. What do I think about it? I don't like it. I want a Gen X president. I
yeah,
love our perspective. I love the Gen X perspective because it's kind of a mix of all the best of you've got the boomers and my parents were actually not boomers. They were the silent generation. I think that's what it's called.
yeah, it is.
And then before that, it's the greatest generation. But you kind of get a little mix of that because our grandparents were certainly the greatest generation. And I don't have kids, but our kids are millennials, and now I guess our grandkids are Z's. But I think it's a great generation. I think we have great perspective. So I would maybe I'll run for president. Who knows? I mean, I would love to see a Gen X president, and maybe there's still hope for that. we're not that old.
No.
I mean, gosh, the president, the last two presidents are in their late 70s. So
Yeah, no,
who
it's
knows?
I would actually promote and I would advocate this in front of my parents who are entering their 80s that we definitely need to cut off for all politicians, not just I actually saw a study the last time there were this many politicians this old was never, but the time it even came close, it was at 50% of the rate, meaning like let's say there's 100 people over 75 right now in a public office, meaning House of Representatives, Senate, or United States, so president. So not states. Anyway, the number has just like it's so high right now, and the trend is just like this giant curve since the 1999 2000. And what the article I was reading is alleging is that this generation, the baby boomer that we call them, is having trouble letting go. And I would definitely say that that seems pretty obvious to me. So
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I haven't thought of it that way. Yeah.
yeah. But like, I want to switch gears to the very end of your bio when you worked as a police officer because I've had several close friends who worked in law enforcement and I have interviewed only a handful. Um, I never thought of law enforcement one way or the other except like the arrogant, youthful, F the police slogan, and then the opposite, which is like, oh my God, the police are the best thing ever and they save and protect us. And then 2020 summer was like, just defund the police and all that. And it really got me thinking okay, I need to have an intellectual and like real stronger opinion on this subject because it's like actually something that now people are debating, which I never saw coming. And to be very honest, it was horrifying. I'm while I do think that there are individual bad seeds in any area of any arena, I do not think that all police are bad, and I do not think that I especially don't think the average person who enters police work is bad. I especially believe that the desire to become a police officer usually comes from a good spot in a human heart. So I'm curious. I spoke a lot. Like, what are your thoughts on your own experience, where we're headed, what has happened, and all that?
Well, and let me just say, I was not a full-time police officer. I was a what's called a reserve police officer, which around the country there's still a number of reserve units. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal is a reserve
I remember
police
that.
officer, but I was actually, I mean, but I was trained just like the normal. I went through the exact same training as everybody else, so I spent all these hours in training, and our in-service training was exactly the same as all the other officers. I was in a car by myself. I was if there's a homicide, I'm called to it. So I have 13 years of that experience, but just know that I was working maybe 10 hours a week doing
Okay.
it. So I don't want to blow my experience out of
No,
proportion,
no,
but
that's
obviously,
fair, but that still totally counts in my opinion. So, and
right,
thank you.
right. So I obviously, I mean, I've seen things that some other folks haven't seen just because I was a cop. I tell you, in 2014, it seemed to, and I don't know why that was here. Was it 13? Maybe it was when a bunch of cops in Dallas were shot. I think that was 13 or 14. There seemed to be a real turn, and it's not as far as negativity towards the police. And I don't. It wasn't a good thing being an officer. I will tell you that my experience is that a lot of, and I was in a small agency. We had I think 45 sworn officers. A lot of really the best guys left.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Wow.
That's what
Yeah.
happened because they're like, it's not worth it anymore. These guys will do something else. I mean, it's just not worth it. And so it's to me, it's extremely concerning, kind of the attitude towards the police. You are absolutely right. There are bad seeds in everything. And as a police officer, you're sworn to basically serve on another level. That was always ingrained in me. Like I've got to be one step better than decent. I mean, that's what we're hired to do. And of course, so that because of that, everything gets amplified. I think, and the intention and the spotlight is bright, and it's become brighter. And certainly, I'm not going to sit here and tell you there aren't people that shouldn't be serving as police officers. But I will tell you, because of what's happened, when I was out of college, that was my dream is to be a full time cop. And I know you're in Phoenix. I applied, I think, two times the Phoenix Police Department and four times the Mesa Police Department. Now, the
Wow.
Mesa Police Department, I remember down in Arizona at the time, they had 7 spots, and 1,000 people applied for 7 openings. I was happy to be top 150. Now, I don't know, but I think I could probably be hired tomorrow. 57-year-old guy that's 13 years of experience as a reserve. I probably could be hired. And so that's kind of where people don't want to serve anymore
Hmm.
as cops because it's not worth it. And so I'm concerned about it, Mike. Uh, there are still very good there are good officers out there, but I'm telling you, my personal experience is most of them got out of the field, and so what are we left with? You know,
Wow. Yeah. No, and that's I feel the same way about education. I was a teacher. I know a lot of people who are like, they're not only paying us less than we deserve, but the amount of hours has increased, the
they're not worth
measure.
it anymore. Yep.
Yeah, no, and you can't discipline. I mean, it's just crazy. And I say that with like a true like understanding of education. Like discipline is very important in the classroom. There's a lot of kids, it's a social experiment, and I feel like policing is probably similar. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying and that's pretty sad. And I think it just echoes this general exhaustive feeling in America right now. And it's a feeling. I don't think like we're actually exhausted literally, but there's like a real, vibe of like, I'm too tired to vote. I'm too tired to think about this. Social media is like, too much. How are you feeling on all that? Just the word exhaustion.
It's when it applies to the police or just
Just
every
everything. Like,
citizen.
how are you feeling? Like, because Nebraska's like almost like the epitome of the American ideal. I wouldn't say it's the epitome of America, but I would say, like when you drive through Nebraska, you drive through it, but you respect it. And like Warren Buffett, like there's just a lot of like, um, even like Peyton Manning and Omaha, and like just these like terms. I know it sounds maybe interesting to people who don't follow culture and sports as much as I do, but like Nebraska really has this like gentle reputation. Like,
We have really good people. We're really nice,
yeah.
so to speak. Or that's what people tell me. That we're good people. We're hardworking people. We like to consider ourselves to be common sense people. But so you're wanting to know the outlook of
Like,
a Midwesterner. Yeah,
yeah, what's
I
the
would
vibe?
say.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I would say the older you get, at least my experience, the older you get. Like I was 31-year political career and spent a lot of time electing people and was around elected officials and so forth and so on. The older you get, the less focused you are on it, and so as far as the political end of things, yeah, I'm sort of exhausted by it, but on the other hand, I'm interested in it. I'm still pay attention. I think
Mhm.
everybody needs to pay attention. I really do. If you don't vote, it upsets me greatly. I've always said, and I will go to the grave on this, is that if you don't vote, then in my opinion, you're not entitled to military or police protection.
Wow.
So,
Yes.
well,
Yeah. There's countries
I
that
mean,
mandate it. So
seriously,
yeah. No, I hear you.
yeah.
There's
I
a yeah.
mean, that's just the way I feel.
Yeah.
The big word feeling as we discussed the
Oh, it's
death.
cool. I like it.
But as far as exhausted, I don't know. I think if you shut down the media and turn off your phone for a couple days, and if you were away from your phone for 10 days, which even I can't. I can't do it. I go on vacation. I'm on my phone. Like, what are you doing? But if you shut your phone off and shut the TV off for 10 days, you wouldn't be so damn exhausted.
Wow. That's profound. My birthday is on Monday. I'll be 44, just a perspective because you were talking about
Oh,
your age.
happy
And
birthday.
yeah, and my plan, my gift to myself is I'm turning my phone off. I'm gonna wake up that day and just like have a technology free day. I'm gonna just see what it feels like. My wife's gonna take our kids to school. I usually do. Like, and I'm just gonna sit.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe you'll get energized by it. I mean, I think the dopamine rush of that stupid phone is ridiculous. I mean, I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I'm on every social media channel. Like I'm just here I am cursing it, but uh, yeah. As far as I just think if we slowed down a little bit. I mean, I know you're old enough at 44. You remember we didn't have phones and we got
Yeah.
along just fine. I on the way to the gym today. I heard a song that they referred to "Waiting by the Phone,"
I
which is
remember that. Yeah.
nobody. I guess it's a classic rock and roll song now because nobody understands what "Waiting by the Phone" is, right?
Was that the Soul
Um,
Asylum song? Just seeing if I'm tracking.
no,
Oh,
actually,
okay.
it's out the outfield. They were talking about it, but
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, just curious.
they were big when I was in high school. But anyway, I just I think we can get along with tech without technology. I think it's a, but I think that's, in my opinion, that's what's exhausting us.
Yeah.
Is it's a crazy world. I mean, you can shop for the news you want. You can, if you want to hear a certain perspective, well, by golly, there's lots of avenues for you to go and sing kumbaya. But um, yeah, but personally, I'm not. Wouldn't say I'm exhausted. I mean, I retired early here 4 years ago, and maybe that has a lot to do with my outlook too. But things are different now.
Yeah, no, that was a great answer. That was exactly what I was trying to feel out because I think, yeah, we're going to talk about your podcast, but like you really do have like an understanding of like the physical side of life, the mental side of life. Cowboys Not Eggheads is like a good tongue-in-cheek allusion to like what I think every human is going through, which is like you have a mental experience and then a physical body that is just every day getting better until a certain age, and then every day it's getting worse. It's like a weird trip, and you don't see it coming, even though everyone tells you it's coming. Like I remember, like your knees will go bad. No, they won't. And then my knees started going bad. I'm like, okay, I get it. So now I'm listening. Now, if like a 60-year-old tells me something, I'm like, okay, I'm like 15 years behind you. I better listen. Like this is solid advice.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, if you're a fan of the show, please head over to mikeyop.com and click the subscribe button. It's the best way to support us, and it's free. That's MIKEYOPP.com. Thanks.
I tell my CrossFit coaches now they're getting in my early 40s too, but I just said, hey, in 17 years I'm going to dial you up and see how your arthritis is doing. So
Yeah. And so let's move on to the spiritual component of the podcast, because I think it's a good time. And you were just talking about like retiring and your attitude and how if we disband from technology even like a little bit, we relax. So what do you think happens when you die? And then let's talk about that.
Well, I'm a Christian, so it's pretty straightforward what I believe happens when you die. Actually, I've made my funeral plans and I've requested that the sermon or the message of the service will be based off of scripture of Luke 23:43. And Luke 23:43 says, "To truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." And so I believe as a Christian that I will go to a place called heaven, and I think that it will be paradise. I do think all the stuff we're talking about, like exhaustion and this politician versus that politician, like I don't think there's political races in heaven, and I think heaven is what we think it's going to be, honestly. And so it may be different for everybody. And we joked in the last podcast, like I play guitar. So it's like, I'll be able to play any song that I want to in heaven. I do CrossFit. So I'll be able to compete in any CrossFit competition I want to in heaven. I'll have no injuries,
Yeah.
I'll be able to experience those things. There's a book here that I highly recommend, and I'm
Cool.
not trying to push anything, but
No, it's
you should
great. Yeah.
definitely check it out. It's basically a book. It's called Imagine Heaven, and it's basically by John Burke, and he did a bunch of near death experiences, NDEs. I'm sure you've studied those,
Yeah.
but I mean, for 40 years and did thousands of these things, and so it's basically all these different stories. And guess what? Not one of them is the same
Yeah.
as far as what people experience. So that's what leads me to believe. I think heaven's going to be what you think it's going to be. I personally believe. I'm looking. I don't want to say I'm looking forward to dying, but I'm not afraid of dying. I look forward to what's next. I believe that I'm going to see my loved ones again, and that we're going to get caught up. And it sounds good to me, huh? So
Yeah.
that's where I believe that what happens when you die.
That's cool. And you got really nuanced in it in a way that I like because I think it would be very unfair and weird for a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim to insist that their version of the afterlife is the only one, whereas yours is the most fair and balanced approach, which is it's a mental arena that you enter, and it's your fantasy, it's your dream, which I actually think ironically probably affects negative people too, like negative people who believe in
Yeah.
hell. I think, sure, if you believe in hell, that's your belief system,
Well,
you know.
yeah, and I don't know if there's a hell or not. Well, I do think there's some very evil people, and I do think that they're not going to heaven. I believe
Hmm.
that much.
Yeah.
They don't belong there.
Yeah.
But I will correct you. And I'm
Sure.
not being
No,
defensive
no,
at all.
please, please, that's the whole point. Yeah.
Heaven to me is not a fantasy. It's absolute pure reality.
Yeah, okay, let me try to rephrase it because I agree with you. What I'm saying is it's your reality. So like in other words, if
Right,
someone
right,
else wants to
right,
be
right.
36 in their heaven, they get to be 36 in their heaven. That's
Yep.
the thing I was trying to,
Yeah,
yeah. Um
that's fair. Yep.
because when I read the NDE books, they've actually made a really consistent point in a lot of the cases, which is you see people at the age you wanted to see them at. Like so in all these different
Correct.
versions. And I appreciate that because I always wondered, I'm like, well, I don't really want to talk to like my parents at the end and my grandparents at the end. You know, I want like my vibrant, healthy papa, like when he was like lifting me in the air.
The way you remember them in the most positive light on earth
Hmm.
is the way they'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely believe that.
Well, let's get into the darker side of what you mentioned because I'm actually fascinated by it. I'm really fascinated recently with the terms evil and bad because they get thrown around and I use them my whole life. And then suddenly I've been really questioning, well, how can like half the country say X person is bad and half the country says X person is good, and then the opponent of X person. I mean, it's pretty obvious what I'm talking about, but it doesn't. Every election is the same. It's just like
Yeah, well,
40% of people.
you're talking politics. I'm
No,
talking
no, let's
about
move it out. Like that's what I'm saying is I
yeah,
only was
yeah,
starting
yeah,
there, but like when people
yeah,
say bad people with your experience as a police officer, with your experience living, with
yeah.
even like with animals, like animal cruelty, how does that strike you? Like,
Um, well, that animal cruelty is not should certainly not be condoned.
yeah, yeah,
And it actually, if they study serial killers, that a lot of them did that to start.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to me, evil is just, I can't. I just saw a documentary on HBO called The Mortician, which you might be fascinated
Yeah,
in,
totally.
but it's a real story that happened in California, where this mortician was basically he was cremating multiple bodies at once.
Wow. Wow.
Is that evil? I think it's evil, and presenting the ashes to families is, and they, he's quoted as saying, "Hey, when your mom and dad are dead, they're gone, and that's the only way you should look at it." And so he was profiting off of cheap cremations, where he would put, you know, multiple, like 12 or 15 bodies in the crematory at once, because it takes 2 hours to cremate a body. Well, is that evil? I think it's evil. I think there's a special place for people like that. I don't think he's going to heaven.
Do you think we should punish with the death penalty evil, or do you think we should pull the brakes ahead of that?
Well, I know you're not a death penalty guy, but I
I
am.
am not. No, that's fine. I'm a, yeah.
See, I do listen to your podcast.
Yeah.
I do think that there are certain. I don't think this particular case deserves
No,
death
no, no. Yeah.
penalty,
Good
but
clarification.
I do think that people that are, people that kill, serial killers, or people that are just do undescribable things. I can't think of a case right now, but I mean
No, it's fine.
things that I can't even imagine. Somebody that rapes multiple women and mutilates and tortures them, and gets for their own hedonistic, or I don't know what they're doing, but
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the death penalty. To me, the death penalty, it's a specific deterrent.
Mhm.
That person will never do that again. Is it foolproof? No, it's
Mhm.
not. It's not. But it's a risk that I think I'm willing to take as a society to send a message to that person, like, you're never going to do that again.
Yeah, and thank you because I while my opinion is formed, my opinions are always in formation. I'm never gonna like say I'm going to the grave with this opinion. And the death penalty one is hard for me because part of my opinion is just based on like genetic overturning of like previous cases. But
Yeah.
I can't lie to you or anyone else. I would sigh a breath of relief if certain people were, exterminated. So it doesn't mean that
Certain
like,
evil
yeah,
people.
yeah, no, evil people, especially people who send young people into war. Like that's actually my least favorite like thing that happens on Earth is when it's one thing to have war occur and it's another to want to fight in a war. But like I lived in the Iraq War era where like they actually lied and they actually manipulated evidence to get us into a war. And you or anyone else can argue about it, but like to me, I still feel like the people who did that should be accountable, and they've gone on record saying, yes, we admit we lied, which is why I bring it up. Like, I'm not going to talk about speculative cases, and that might be the border of politics and society, but I do know that war to me is like enforcing the death penalty. It's a weird case, so I don't know. Did that spur some thoughts in you?
Yeah, I disagree
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so that's why. Well, I like you, so I like having these conversations. I don't know for people
Well,
listening.
I
I don't
happen
want
to
to
work
like talk to
very,
someone who
very
agrees with me
hard
on
for
everything.
some of
Yeah,
the people you're talking about.
yeah. Well, I have
I
a
don't,
friend who
I
served, and
don't,
he's the most anti-war person I know now. So
yeah,
yeah,
sure. I get it. But I'm a cowboy,
yeah.
so I'm a guy that,
But specifically the manipulating
when you
evidence
sign
part.
up,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
see, I don't know specifically what you're talking
Okay,
about, so I
let's
can't
ignore
speak
that then. And
intelligently.
no, that's fine.
But,
Let's move on. Yeah,
yeah, but, no, I think when you sign up for the military, you don't get to choose why you're fighting.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's fair.
When I
Yeah,
signed up a cop, I didn't get to choose what calls I got to go to.
that's an excellent point.
It, you're sworn to serve,
Hmm.
and as a soldier, to it's not your job to say, well, I'm not going to fight for this because I don't believe in it. No, 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 no. You're protecting the Constitution of the United States, and that's obviously up to interpretation and so forth
Yeah.
as well. And so that's where I'm coming from.
Well, no, and I had you on my show knowing that you have opinions that are strong, and I like to hear them. And I like I said, I screen guess you
Hey, guess
think,
what? We haven't
yeah.
even called each other an idiot yet. I mean,
No.
it's amazing. We're just having a
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, and I like to demonstrate for people too that like two smart men with what some would call a generation gap, and I actually wouldn't, can talk about their different perspectives and feelings about all this. Because I think first of all, I agree with a lot of what you said, especially the part about when you sign a contract, you signed that contract. I am not a fan of like, oh, I didn't know what I was getting into. I also believe that's why you have to have fair contracts and the fair presentation, and you don't make people sign something under duress. So when I was attacking the administration, I meant the manipulation of evidence to get in. You said you don't know exactly all about that, so I don't want to belabor that point or talk about
No,
it.
that's fine.
But what
Yeah.
you said that I liked, because I like to give feedback, is you're right. There's a system in place and an order to it, and you can't just break order when you feel like it. That is a disaster. So
It's
um
called, I view it as chaos, but
yeah,
yes.
yeah, and I wonder about this because it goes back to the defund the police thing. I'm like, well, what are people thinking? Like, there are people who are deterred by the police, and it's a good deterrence. And there are people who are deterred by the threat of war. And like, I don't think if America, if we just said, hey, we're getting rid of all our jets, all our missiles, and everything, Putin, gee, all you people just go nuts, do whatever you want. I'm not a fan of that solution. So
No, no. My dad used to say that everybody complains about lawyers until they need one, and then the best will do. So yeah, everybody complains about cops until they need one, and then they're wondering how come the response time is 10 minutes more than it should be. Well, it's because nobody wants to do it anymore. So it's a balance.
yeah, here's a fun question for you. If you lean to the conservative, harder side of, what you just said, like I believe in the death penalty, I believe in, I don't know how to phrase the war conversation, but your beliefs are in the American spectrum, they lean right. I wouldn't say they're like,
I would say they're center right.
yeah,
Yes.
center right, yeah, because I definitely don't want to paint you as some like, but so my question for you is, and it's sort of playful, is what's like the softest opinion you have? Like, what's an opinion you have that
Ooh.
doesn't meet that?
Huh. I don't know if it's soft or not, but I think people would be surprised to know that I think Native Americans got the biggest screw job of all time.
Wow, yeah. That's yeah.
I think many members of my party probably, or my,
Yeah. No,
a
that's
lot
cool.
of folks on my side of the aisle probably aren't as have the same feelings on that as I do, but it's a tragedy what happened to Native American people. These people were proud warriors, and they were farmers, and they were here long before we were. And the United States government came, and the Trail of Tears is an unbelievable story. We're forcing people into reservations here, just get into this ditch and we'll just, and we've seen what's happened. We've stripped their freedom of a people who they are, and that it bothers me greatly. So that maybe that, I don't know if that's a soft, what you're saying is a position maybe that I hold it, you'd be surprised about. Well, maybe that's one of them.
Yeah, no, I deeply respect what you just said. I feel exactly the same. I'm just horrified to this day. And it's funny because I have been to every state. So I have been to Nebraska. And, when I was in Nebraska, it felt like different. And it had like a spiritual land presence for me. And, maybe this is the most hippy dippy thing in the world, but for me, it was real and it was like valid. And I had a friend who moved there, and she talked a little bit about it. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like people and land, there's a presence. And so I think the Native American spirit was very strong where you grew up and very strong in that area. So it's probably sad. And you're right, though. Is that the end of the Trail of Tears or is that Oklahoma?
No, that's Oklahoma.
Yeah, okay.
I was in Cherry County. We're bordered South Dakota, and there's a place called, called the Pine. There's a place called White Clay, Nebraska, Pine Ridge Reservation, which is a little east of where we're at. But it's just tragic what happened. I mean, White Clay was a town of 20 people, and there was like 4 liquor stores there. So it's a dry reservation across the border, and they're selling 12 to 16 million cans of beer a year because they come across the border. And these folks are the average lifespan in Pine Ridge is 48 years old for male, which is worse than like Haiti or second to Haiti or something. And it's because they're alcoholics, and it's absolutely tragic.
Yeah, I live south of the Navajo reservation. It's we have streets here named Indian School Road because the Indian School movement started in Arizona. It's really sad. Thank you, Sam. I'm what an awesome interview. It flies by. I am blown away.
I hope I didn't take too much of your time here.
No, it's perfect, and I really appreciate you talking candidly. I want my audience to be diverse, and I want my listeners to be diverse, and I want to present diversity with respect. And I respect you. I respected you from the moment we met, and I respect your show, which will be in the notes for how to find you. But as you know, because you listen, I like to give my guests the floor. And seriously, you have the floor. What would you like to say?
I thought about this because I know that you do, and I'm like, what in the heck am I supposed to say? But I'm just going to share with you something that I found recently in a letter that my mother sent me before my wife and I were married 30 years ago. So this was written approximately 30 years ago, and I just thought it was cool.
Very cool.
From my mother, bless her soul. As your dad and I get older, we come to realize that there's so much that just works. Don't spend your precious energy worrying. If one thing doesn't work, the other will. There is no single way to do life, in quotes. Many approaches will work. So there you go.
I love it. Wow, that was really cool.
My mom was an egghead. She's pretty smart, huh?
Yeah.
Her husband was a cowboy, but
that's cool, and that created you, and you're cool, and also that is like literally the only advice that works in my marriage and with children, especially because like a lot of the marital difficulties for me are a different in perspective of child rearing, and that speaks to it, which is like the worrying is what's going wrong for both of us when we argue about that specific topic. So. Sam, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure to see you again.
My pleasure. It was an honor to be on. It was an honor. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I thank you for the feedback, and thanks for listening to the show. And because you listen to the show, and because you're such a good member, anytime you want, just email me if there's a guest request or anything like that. You're on the A-list.
I will do that. That's awesome.
Cool. And everyone listening at home, thank you. You've been listening to Coffin Talk or watching Coffin Talk. My name is Mike Oppenheim, and we will see you soon.